Hi, everybody, and welcome to an author chat. I am joined today by Emmory Jarman, who is a new author. Her book comes out on December 14th, which is, if you're watching this live, this upcoming Saturday. If you're watching it at a different time, it'll be on Saturday, December 14th, 2024. And her book is titled A Kingdom So Crimson. Would you like to show everyone your book?
Yes, here it is. I have a weird background thing. I don't know how to get it off, but here it is.
And would you mind introducing yourself and telling people what your book is about?
Yeah, so my name is Emmory Jarman. I am a full-time mom for sure. And then I'm actually a part-time reading tutor. And then I am an indie author that I'm super excited. Um, a little bit about my background. I actually was super, super bad at reading and writing when I grew up, and I hated it.
Mhm.
Like I
Yeah.
could not. I like no one could pay me enough to even like touch a book.
Mhm.
Um, and I just despised it because I wasn't good at it. I couldn't read or write, and so I was put into one intervention group after another. And I think it's just because I work so hard at it that I eventually just like fell in love with it.
Yeah.
And I had a creative writing teacher that just really opened my eyes to just like the world, to
Mhm.
everything like that. And so, and then my book, which is crazy now that I think like that I can say I've written a book and it's coming
Yeah.
out. It's so crazy. So a little bit about A Kingdom So Crimson. It it is the first book to an epic fantasy series called the Lightbringer series. And this first book is definitely not what it seems. Every time I talk to people, I'm like, this first book really is not what it seems. There's a lot of like secrets and under things going on.
Yeah.
But basically, you follow along with the main female character, and her name is Alaya, and she is an orphan, or a ward to this lord who is very just full of himself, and he loves money, wealth, fame, all of that.
As one
So,
does.
yes, yeah. And so he uses Alaya to get into like the king's court.
Yeah.
And he uses her to get into the king's court through a death match. And so she ends up leaving this life that was pretty cruel, with a mysterious mentor. And that's kind of it. And it's just, I don't want to like give any spoilers, so that's
I
all
hear
kind
you. It's really
of.
hard to describe your book and be
I
like, yeah,
know.
this is the book without giving away much of the plot.
Yes, yes. But there's a lot of magic and monsters. And there's definitely an understory and a lot of secrets that will be explained in the end. So
That's so exciting. So, are you more of a discovery writer, a planner? Like, how did you go about it with this book?
so this book was kind of all over the place. I'm not gonna lie. um, I actually had a dream. This book all started from a dream. So like the last
Wow.
so the last chapter, or like the last two chapters in this book, literally is pretty much based off my entire dream that I had.
That's
And
amazing.
so I just kind of I have a super big imagination, and I've always had like a dream journal. And so I've just kind of just jumped off this idea, and I just like fell in love with it. And I finally had some free time, and I was like, I'm just gonna write this. So I wrote it, but it was kind of all over the place. It really was. Like my first few chapters, I like scrapped them a lot of times because I was like, I don't like the way
Yeah.
this is going. So this first book was definitely like all over the place. I had like a few good plots, like things that I wanted planned, but that was about it.
Sure. I was very similar in writing my book in that I had 3 scenes that I knew specifically, and then everything else was kind of discovery as I went, and it was fun
Mhm.
to see how they could connect.
Uh-huh.
But I admire people so much that can plan their books. I always sit back and question, how do you do this? Because
Yeah.
I am not that way at all. So I like hearing other people that are kind of in my boat where it's like there was a spark of inspiration and I just went for it. I'm like, great, that works for
Yeah,
me.
I know. Luckily with book two, I've been a little bit it's been a little bit
Yeah.
easier to like plan stuff because I like
You
know
have
the
to,
end
I feel like.
goal and yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's
It's
been a lot
really
easier
hard.
to do it, but it's definitely a
Exactly.
forward place.
Do you have any idea how many books in the series it's gonna be?
Yeah, so I am planning to do a 4 to 6 part series.
Wow.
And I have like a few novellas too with like side characters and like a prequel.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, I guess we'll see what happens though. Like it really, like I have the end goal that I want, but I'm not
Yeah.
sure how many books is gonna like lead to that. So
Mhm.
we'll see what happens.
Hmm. So, had you written anything beforehand? Like, had you taken creative writing classes? Like, how did you really start writing?
Yeah. So I actually majored in creative writing. So
Okay.
I've written tons of short stories, and I've actually written. I started writing a few books when I was younger, but I
Yeah.
just like, never stuck to them. Like they will never see the light of day.
Mhm.
Well, maybe one might. I don't know. We'll see. But I think I started like actually writing or falling like in love with it when I was in 8th grade. So I
Okay.
don't even like, is that 14? 14 years old? I don't even know. 8th graders.
I think it's 14
Um,
years old, yeah.
14. But yeah, so it was about like 14 when I like actually started loving writing, and that's when I had that creative writing class, and it just took off from
Oh,
there.
yeah.
And I mean, when I was in school and college, like I had to write a lot of essays, and that wasn't very fun. So I've written a lot of essays, but
Not quite the same as creative writing for
yeah,
sure. Definitely a different beast, yeah.
yeah.
So, what do you feel like as a reader you tend to gravitate towards? And do you feel any of those influences have made their way into your writing?
like like a from like an author, like a certain author, or just like different like genres or tropes or
In
something,
general.
anything. I think I don't know. I mean, I've always loved fantasy, so of course I've written a fantasy book. But I love like a few tropes. Like I love the enemies to lovers trope.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorites. So of course I had to include it in my book. um, but yeah, there's like a few. I was actually, let me pull this up. I was actually messaging someone the other day, and they were asking me like what books like really made an impact to me. And I like made this whole list. Let me find it really quick because I was like actually surprised. I was like, oh yeah. Of course the first one is Because of Winn-Dixie. That was like the first book that I actually was able to read by myself.
Oh, nice.
Um, and that was like back in like 3rd grade, 2nd grade.
Mhm.
I'm not sure. Um, but yeah, for sure Because of Winn-Dixie, and then absolutely like the Hunger Games. Like that was like when I really got into like the dystopian era,
Yeah.
you know. And then yeah, like there's like The Selection, The Tearsmiths, Eden Brooke, Harry Potter, um, A Court of Thorn and Roses, The Brothers, and yeah, just a whole bunch of others. Like it's just, I feel like
Mhm.
over time, like I feel like just,
Yeah.
I don't know, over time you just kind of become one with all of them.
What you read, exactly. So,
Yeah.
would you classify your book as a romantasy?
I would for sure. This first book, there's not a lot of romance. It's like a super slow burn because you're finding out with the main character just like everything that's going on, and she's had
Sure.
a pretty like tortured past a little
Yeah.
bit. And so there's not a lot of romance because she has really bad trust issues. But
Okay.
for sure, like the rest of the series, it will be like a romantasy. So
And you are writing with no spice though, correct?
yeah, no spice. It's
And is
closed
that for
doors.
the whole series?
Uh-huh. Yep. So it's a closed door romance. I mean, there will be like some like
Fade to black?
yeah, hinted tense scenes kind of, but yeah, no like explicit open door spice. So
Do you find that's a different take for the genre? Because that's not something that we generally get a lot of, I feel like. It tends to be more open doors. So did you see like that as an opportunity to kind of fill the void a little bit in the genre?
yeah, um yeah, 100%. And I'm a Christian too. And so it's just like I love finding those books that are like so good and it doesn't have like the explicit spice in it, you know?
Mhm.
And because sometimes you like have to skip over them or something. And but yeah, and I just feel like it's kind of just like a breath of fresh air to just find like a good fantasy series that has no spice. So
Sure.
yeah.
Well, so walk me through your writing process. You have this dream, and then what happens?
Yeah. So, yeah, I had a dream and I kind of just like, I mean, I wrote it down in my journal and I was like, this is like so cool. I told my husband all about it. And he's always been like my number one fan. And so he's like, you should totally write a book about this. Like, this is actually really cool. You should do it.
Yeah.
And so I actually just like wrote the scene down and I was just kind of like, we'll see what happens. But I could not get it out of my head. Like I had like another dream like the next night about it again.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, I'm just gonna do it. Like I actually have free time, so we'll just like sit down and like see what happens.
Yeah.
And so at first I just started like coming up with characters. And it's so funny for me, I cannot write a character unless I know their name.
Okay.
And so I was like looking on like baby name charts and like I could not find like anything. But yeah, and then I finally came up with my main character's name, Alaya. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
this is it. And I just was able to start writing and like become a part of her.
Mm-hmm.
And then my husband was a really big supporter. Like I would just come to him and be like, hey, I am like so stuck. What do I do? And he would just like start bouncing off ideas with me. And it's been really fun working with him with that because you just kind of get stuck in a rut as an author, and you're like, okay, what do I do next? Like I have no idea. But
Yeah.
he's really good. He has a really big imagination too. So we just like
That's
bounce
awesome.
like off of each other and it was fun. So
I find naming characters to either be really easy or exceedingly difficult. There's no middle ground with it. Like with
it's
my protagonist, I knew immediately what her name was because it was a name that I wanted for our daughter that my husband,
nice.
pretty much like right away. And I was like, that's what I'm using. That's her
I
name.
love it.
And I went with that. But then there were other characters throughout the book that I was like, what am I naming you? And like they had no name for like a while. And then finally I went back in and gave them proper names or I changed the names. And at one point I didn't even realize this, but my love interest, I was saying his name specifically in my head. And then my best friend read it and she's like, why does it sound like that? And I'm like, it doesn't sound like that. And he said, yes, it does. That's how it reads. And I went back and realized I had been spelling my own character's name wrong.
Oh, really? That is funny.
Book. I was like, that's interesting.
It works.
Yeah, exactly. Bob, call everyone Bob. I mean, that would make things a lot easier. It was one of those things where I found that it was either really easy to lean into what the names were and it just felt so natural. And then in other cases, it was something that I really had to sit back and be contemplative about and think, who are you? Tell me who you are. But it's so fun once you have that name and it clicks into place because you really know them, like it's weird how you know your characters.
It's weird. Like they really like come to life. Like it's like only I really can only like explain it to authors because like they understand, and but it's so fun. Like once you find their name, you're like, oh my gosh, like okay, I know you now. Let's keep going.
Yeah.
This is an adventure. So
yeah. It's funny too now because I'll speak on behalf of my characters in my writers group. I'm like, oh, Brita would never do that. And I'm like, that's something I never really thought I would say or think in those types of terms and contexts. But you really do get to know them in that intimate way. And it's an interesting experience. It's so fun. Yeah. So did you have the characters sort of in mind before you started, like once you had your dream, you're like, okay, I have a clear idea sort of who my characters are going to be? Or was it more you knew the protagonist and then the people around her slowly started to come into formation after that?
Yeah, so I for sure I knew for sure like her and her best friend, and then this protector that you'll meet. I for sure knew them, and then I kind of just like started writing and like developing your story, and as I did that, like the other people kind of came in, and so that's kind of how it started. Like I for sure knew those three, and but I think it's just fun. It's so fun, and they keep me up all night long.
Oh yeah, same here. I love this. Kalis Jabir, the evil. He was a vizier and was controlling Ifrits and genies. I love that. I love when characters have full-on titles too. I think it's just so
Yes.
good. So how did you come about the world? Was the world easy for you? Did you have a really clear idea of what the world was going to look like? I know that one of your influences was Anastasia, which I
Mhm.
love because I feel like
Mhm.
Anastasia is having like a resurgence, which I think is great.
Yeah.
But was it something where you were thinking, I'm going to take a lot of aspects from our world and kind of imbue them into this world? Were you thinking, I really want to start from scratch? Like, what was the idea with the world that you were creating?
Yeah, so I really loved how I know this is gonna sound super cliche because I feel like everyone talks about it, but with Sarah J. Maas, like A Court of Thorn and Roses,
I love
I
it, so I don't care. Go for it.
I love it so much. But I just loved like her world, how it was like a part of our world, but it was like not, and it was just like, and I feel like that was like the one of the first books I read in like fantasy that like broke the bonds of like both like the modern realism
Mm,
of like fantasy and then like the actual like fantasy. Like it was just like a merge of both of them. And
yeah,
I just love that so much where like you can choose whatever, you know, like
yeah,
it's kind of like my book is kind of set back in the day, like a Regency kind of, but
okay.
it's also not like it. There's modern like twists to it because it's like I can create this world, you know,
Yeah,
um,
there's no rules in
and
fantasy, which is great.
yeah, yeah, and it's fun. So creating the world was really fun actually. Like I had a really fun time doing that, and then um oh, I was about to say something that I probably shouldn't because I don't want any spoilers. But um, without spoiling, but there's definitely like another world that you'll figure out like what's actually going on. So, and that's been super super fun to create. So,
That's amazing. Can you
yeah.
tell us some things about the world without being too spoilery? Is there anything that we can know about the world? I know there's
Um,
monsters in the world.
yes. So yeah. So for this book, yeah, there is monsters in the world. And there is a main bad guy that you meet very, very briefly here. Um, and yeah, without like spoiling anything, he is the one who's like bringing these monsters here.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
without, yeah, I don't want to like give too much because it's yeah. But book two will explain like everything because this one you're just kind of finding out with a lie what's actually happening.
Mhm.
In book two, you're like, wow, okay, this is the world, you know.
Mhm. All right.
Yeah.
So, what do you find now that you love about writing, and how do you fit writing into your life? Because like you said, you're a mom, you're a full-time mom. As
Mhm.
another full-time mom, I know it is exhausting.
Yeah.
And finding that time to sit down and be creative and not feel like your brain has turned into soup can be really
Yeah.
exhausting. So, how do you factor that into your life?
Yeah, so I normally am able to write better at night. So like I'll put my little guy down and then I'll be able to like write at night. Sometimes though, and especially recently just with like the release and everything, I have not been able to like write for a hot minute and it is
Mhm,
stressing me out, but um it's been kind of a nice just like refresher and break for a little bit. But yeah,
mhm,
normally I write at night when he's down. And yeah, that's when like most of my creative ideas come up, and it's just so
mhm.
fun. And then, which is sometimes a bad thing because then I like will stop at like way past midnight, and then I can't go to sleep because
Yeah,
I'm constantly thinking about the book and like, okay, I
yeah,
could do this next or that next, and
you're
this would be
wired.
fun, or yeah, yeah. So, but that I've tried writing in the morning, and I just can't. My brain is mush in the morning, so
Interesting. Yeah, I can't really start until like 10 a.m. And then
mhm.
I can seem somewhat coherent, but the stuff I write before then, I'm like, this should not be read
Yeah.
by anybody.
I know, that's me too. I've tried that and it's like, yeah, nope. Yeah.
I completely hear you. It's hard.
It is.
So you decide, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to write this book. You start writing. How long did the book take you from start to finish to write?
Yeah, start to finish, it took me about a year. It took me
Okay.
about a year to write, kind of inconsistently though. I feel like if I was actually able to like write every single day, I would
Yeah.
have been able to get done quicker. But yeah, it took me about a year to write, and then it was a little less than a year to edit everything. So about like 6, 7 months. So
Okay.
yeah. So it was really fun. I know, and I'm really excited for book 2. So
Have you started working on book 2?
uh-huh. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. I
How
know.
far
And
into book 2 are you?
I am about let's see. I think I was like I'm in chapter 5, so I don't even remember how many words that was. I think it was like around 40, 50,000. I don't know.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. So, but
That's
yeah,
exciting.
it'll be fun.
So you decide, I've written my book, and did you ever debate with trying to get a publisher and go traditional versus indie? Like, how was your journey to indie publishing?
Yeah, so at first I was planning on doing like the traditional route. Like I was writing my book and everything, and I was like doing research and everything for the traditional. But
Yeah.
my mom actually had a friend who he kind of started out indie publishing, but then he last minute like switched to traditional.
Okay.
And I got on a phone call with him and I talked about it, and because I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. Can you help
Right.
me? And so I talked with him, and he just explained like how much he wished he would have stayed indie publishing, just because like the freedom he had,
Mhm.
um and he would have gotten like a lot more money that way too. And he just says it was a lot more like difficult trying to like fit into their system when like I wanted
Sure.
my book a certain way. And so that kind of like really scared me from traditional publishing. And I was like, okay, well maybe I will just do indie. And I found some super awesome friends too on Instagram who've said kind of similar things.
Yeah.
But I feel like eventually I would like to go traditional publishing if possible.
Yeah.
More so, literally just for the marketing, because it is so hard to market. Like,
I was gonna talk to you about it because I feel like in terms of people that I've followed for a new author, you've done very well with your
oh,
marketing.
well, thank you. Seriously, that means so much because I feel like sometimes I'm like a chicken with my head cut off, and I'm like,
Oh, we all are. We all
no,
are.
we'll see if this happens. So
Yeah.
that makes me really happy. So thank you.
What inspired your marketing tactics generally? Because like you started marketing pretty early, I feel like.
Yeah, I did. So I remember like watching a video or something. I think it was like a YouTube video because I was like, how do I even like go about writing a book, you know? And they
Mhm.
say like one of the number one things is to start marketing as soon as you're writing your book. And
Yeah.
so I did that, but I still didn't know what I was doing. And I wish I could kind of like go back and like be able to start marketing, because like now I know like the steps you need in order to like get out there.
Mhm.
Um,
What are the
but
steps for people who don't know? What do
yeah,
you feel are those steps?
so yeah, so if you are wanting to, I guess this is mostly mainly for like Instagram. I haven't done a ton of research on like TikTok and Facebook, but this is mainly for Instagram. But yeah, if you're wanting to start a book or anything, for sure, if you want to go on Instagram, make sure to have at least like 2 weeks worth of good content, that's like about your book, but also about you, because a lot of people are liking more of like the behind the scenes, like they like the
Yeah.
person. So yeah, and then posting consistently for those 2 weeks and
Yeah.
interacting every day, getting yourself out there and building that community. And then I feel like after that 2 weeks, you can kind of like slow down maybe just a little bit, but yeah, I for sure like those 2 weeks are like the most vital, because that's when like the algorithm in Instagram like really pushes you out there. And then
Yeah.
like after that you lose like the little new sign. Um but yeah, so I feel like that's like the big thing that I had no idea. I like posted
Yeah.
like once every like 2 weeks, and I was like, here's my book.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah,
I
but
still
it has
struggle with
been
it.
really fun. What was that?
I still struggle with it. I'm still trying to learn how that Instagram algorithm works, because it's different. I find, I was talking to a friend about this the other day, where I was saying that I'm I don't like the marketing aspect at all. Like, it feels very icky to me, where I'm just like, I don't like it. It's not something that jives well with me.
Yeah.
But I have distanced my face from it. Like, all my TikTok stuff is just slides. My Instagram stuff is mostly slides. And I was like, I feel awkward putting myself and my face on it, even though I do things like this. But I'm like, these generally don't tend to be about me. They tend to be more conversational about the person I'm talking to. So it's different when you're like, this
Yes.
is my thing. Please
I
look at
know.
my thing. And I'm like, this is
Yeah.
so uncomfortable. So yeah, I struggle with it so much, but I'm trying to force myself to be a bit better with that. But
Yeah,
I
it's
feel like
hard though.
you struck a good balance, I feel like.
Oh, that's good. That's good. I should have written it down, but I read something about like good marketing, and it was like three things. Like you want to have like your book out there, like stuff about your book. So if it's like quotes or like pictures
Yeah.
or like whatever it is. And then the next thing is to do things about your like just you, who you are as like an author or like an editor or whoever you are.
Yeah.
And then the third thing is just like your normal life. Like it doesn't even have to be along like the
Yeah.
niche of like, author and stuff.
Yeah.
And I've been trying to slowly do that, but it is so hard. And then also like I Instagram like and social media in general just burns me out so bad. So I'm
Big
like,
time.
I
Oh my
can't
gosh,
do
big
it.
time. I was talking to my therapist about this literally today. I was saying to her, I'm feeling it. Like, I'm feeling burnt out. And she was saying, you need to set limits. Like, you need to set limits.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, I know
I
I
know, and it is, oh
do.
my gosh, it's just it's really hard. And I feel like I mean we're all so hard on ourselves and stuff. And
Yeah,
I feel like that's never good. And we're always like comparing ourselves to like the next person, you know, and like
always,
yeah,
always. Oh, it's the worst.
and it's so funny too because I remember like I had like 100 followers for the longest time. Like I could not get to like over like 100 followers. And at first I was kind of like, I don't even care. Like this is just fun. I'm just doing stuff for
Yeah,
fun. And then I was like, oh, if only I could just like reach like 500 followers or like
I
if
know.
I could only reach 1,000 followers, you know? And then I was like, then I'd be good. Then I'd be happy. And then
Yeah,
I'd reach those followers and then it like there was no like a
yeah.
satisfaction. You know? It was just kind of like, well,
Hmm.
now I need to reach 2,000, you know? And it's just like,
Right,
it's just this,
exactly. That goal just keeps
yeah.
going up and up and up. And it's funny because I was talking to Penn Cole, who wrote the Kindred Curse saga a
Oh,
couple,
yeah.
and she was telling me, because we were talking about marketing, and I was saying, I, no one knows the secret with marketing. We're all just like grasping at straws here,
Yeah.
hoping that we hit the nail on the head. And she was saying that she had like 300 followers on Instagram when she published Spark.
Mhm.
And she just crossed 50,000 followers the other day.
Yeah.
Like, you just don't know what things are going to blow up. And she was saying, in terms of hoping that you're going to have a viral video, she said, I see higher sales numbers for those few days, but then it all goes back to normal. She said
Uh-huh.
consistency is really what matters more than necessarily having those big flashy numbers
Yeah.
at the beginning, especially. And I was like, it's a good point. Like,
Yeah.
consistency really does matter. Like you were saying, those 2 weeks, be ready to show up, have that content ready to
Mhm.
go. And it makes a difference. Like,
Mhm.
unfortunately, that is the nature of the beast. If you want to see
Yes.
those numbers, like, that
Yeah.
is the nature of the beast. And
I know.
it's a
It is
thing.
exhausting.
Yeah.
But it's so true. And yeah, just like consistency really is key. Just like, because yeah,
Mhm.
with the algorithm, like it just like is constantly like piling all of these videos, and eventually like there's gonna be one video. Like I remember, yeah, I posted a
Yeah.
video like forever ago, and then it was like finally it started getting views and stuff. I was like, what the heck? Like I forgot I even posted this thing. Like,
Right?
and so yeah,
Yeah.
just and it's hard too because like I never ever expected this like when I was becoming like starting to want to be an
Sure.
author. Like I was like, oh, I'm just writing and then I'll get a book out there, you know? Like you never
Yeah.
think about like
Yeah.
the marketing scene behind it. And it is like it
Mhm.
is a lot to undertake. And But at the same time,
Yeah,
it's really fun. It really is. It's just
it can be exhausting, but yeah, it can be for sure. It's funny because you sit down and you think, I'm going to write a book. And you get through that process and you write a book and you think, wow, I wrote a book. And then you realize 6 months later that writing the book was the easiest part of that whole process. As an indie
Yeah.
author, you're like, oh, cool. This was the easy part.
Yeah, like, that's 100% correct. Like, yes, I could not agree more.
Yeah.
It was very
It's
accurate.
wild. It's
Yeah,
so wild.
I know.
So, how did you go about deciding aesthetically what you wanted your book to look like, cover wise, and all of that fun stuff?
Yeah, so I I actually let me see if I can find my cover. Let's see. I've been trying to do like the minimal like spending money as possible.
Yeah.
Um because my husband, he actually lost his job
Mhm.
back in February, and so we were like really struggling, and I didn't think I was going to be able to get my um cover, or like not my cover, but my book out there at all. So I was like,
Yeah.
I'm just going to do like as best I can. I'm gonna like create my cover. We're gonna do this. But I always wanted the theme of like black, red, and gold. Like that was
Mhm.
always the theme.
Yeah.
Um, and it has like importance too within like the series.
Mhm.
Um, so this is, oh yeah, okay. So this is my first. Oh shoot, you can't see it. This is my first thing that I just created.
That's not bad.
I know. And so I was like, okay, that's good. And I was like, it's okay. Like maybe eventually, like I'll be able to do it,
Yeah.
or like get like a professional thing done. But I was just like not loving it, and I was like giving it to people, and I was like, okay, I need your honest opinion. Um, and I mean, all of them, they were just so nice. Like, yeah, it's good. It's really cute. Like, I like it. And I was like,
Yeah.
no. And I think like deep down, like I was like, I don't like this. Like,
Yeah, you knew.
yeah.
Mhm.
Sorry, there's like a something that just got in my eye. I'm
Oh,
like,
I hear you. It happens.
hello. No, I have a blanket down here because I'm downstairs in the basement and it is freezing. And this is the blanket my dog always snuggles into, so it's probably her hair. um, anyways, but I talked with one of my friends. I don't know if you read Lunaria with Kara
I haven't
Douglas.
read it yet, but Kara, yeah, I haven't read
Yeah,
it.
Kara, she's the cutest. But I sent it to her and I was like, Kara, I need your honest opinion. I don't like this, but do you actually like this? And she was like, yeah, I think it is really good, but I can see what you mean. And I feel like it was her that was like, okay, I need
Yeah.
something else. Like this isn't jiving with my story. And she was actually the person who told me about this company. It's called Get Covers,
Yep.
and they are like super cheap and like super affordable. And I just went with them, and they've been so awesome
That's
through it
great.
all. And then they created this, so which is so much better, and it actually goes along with the whole series. And I was like, okay, we're good, we're good. So
Yeah.
that's kind of my
Yeah.
process.
That's awesome. How did you meet Kara through Instagram or how did you guys end up connecting? Yeah.
Yeah, just through Instagram. We both had like no followers at all. I think I first met her. She was like the first person I actually talked to on
Oh, wow.
Instagram, and we just like jived ever since then. So
That's
yeah, it's been
awesome.
so
Yeah,
fun.
it looks pretty. I agree. It is a very pretty
Thank
cover.
you. Thank you. I know I'm
Yeah,
a little
it's
more proud about this than the other one.
I hear you. I hear you. It's always fun when you have an idea of what you think your cover should look like and then seeing it kind of come to
Yeah,
fruition. Like that's a really cool
uh-huh.
thing.
I
I had
know.
no idea. I had zero
Yeah.
idea. I saw the cover. I was like, whatever you think.
Oh,
I was
really?
like,
Oh my gosh, it
yeah,
is gorgeous. I love
thank
your cover
you.
so much.
Thank
Like
you.
it is so unique too. Like,
That
oh,
is like all her, honestly. She read my manuscript and I was like, whatever you think best describes the story, because I'm at a loss. I was like, I've been just staring at my words for like months and I have zero ideas. So
I
you
know.
tell me. And it ended up being a really great collaborative effort, which was
Awesome.
incredible. But yeah, the cover it's a big thing. It makes it feel
It is.
so real when you're looking at it and going, huh, like
Mhm. True, and it's literally the
I
first thing that the people look at too. They're like, "Okay, this
yeah,
is a it's." I mean, it's sad, but it really is like a make or break it.
true.
Like, "Oh, I don't really like that cover. I'll pass on," you know?
Yeah, it
It's so
is
true.
true. So
So
you said that you ended up connecting with Kara. So it was Kara Douglas, who is another indie author on Instagram.
mhm.
did you start reaching out to people in general? Like, how did you end up finding your community on Instagram? Because I feel like you've befriended quite a few authors, no?
Yeah. I don't know. It's funny because like I feel like it was just like right at the beginning when I was just starting the Bookstagram. I just
Journey,
yeah,
yeah.
they just kind of like I would like see someone's post and just like be super friendly with all of them and as a mom too, like being a mom is like so lonely sometimes. And so I
Oh
just like
yeah.
needed that connection
Yes.
um
That is why
and
I started my YouTube page.
yeah, this is so awesome too. Like this
Yeah,
is so fun. Like I was home all day with my little boy, and then I had to watch my niece today. So I've just been like kitted
burnt out.
out. Is that even like
Yeah.
burnt out? Yeah. And so this is like so nice to just have like adult interaction, you
Human
know?
connection. Yeah,
Yes.
I
But
totally get it.
yeah, and I feel like yeah, me and Kara, we just kind of like just started talking and then another one was RM Gray,
Mhm.
Becca who wrote Night Weaver. Me and her have gotten like really close and
It's great.
um but yeah, it's just super fun. Like it's just this kind of community that I had no idea existed.
Me
And
either.
and it's honestly the best community. Like it
Yeah,
is like another side of social media that is like so supporting and so loving
yeah.
and it really is like a breath of fresh air. It's just and it's fun and even though it's stressful at times trying to market, it is fun when you like find those good connections and you just like yeah, you really do make a friendship and it's just
Mhm.
fun.
It is stressful, honestly, like, it is stressful, but it can yield some very positive things for
Yes.
sure.
Yes.
So, what are your hopes for the launching of this book on Saturday? What are the hopes?
I honestly, I am just I feel like I've been stressing out about it so much. I'm just kind of like reeling it back and I'm just like, you know what happens, happens. Like, I mean, yeah, a hope would be super awesome if like I was able to get in like a good ranking, especially on Amazon, but
Yeah,
I don't want to like put any pressure on myself because I know if like I expect it and it doesn't happen, I'll be really sad.
disappointed, yeah.
Yeah, and so I'm kind of just kind of winging it, honestly. Like I mean, I have a whole bunch of ARC readers who've been super awesome and
Yeah,
they're planning on posting all their reviews and um but yeah, like I was planning on doing a launch like party.
yeah.
But with the holidays, it is like so expensive to find a place. And I'm like, you know
Can you
what?
do
Like,
a virtual launch?
I mean, I guess I could. I guess I
Yeah,
could. I didn't even think about doing that. That actually might be fun.
yeah.
Actually, I am actually gonna think about that. um, but yeah, like I was planning on doing like this big party with like friends and family, and I was gonna have all these books and like this fun games and stuff like that. But
Oh,
then it
that's
just
fun.
it didn't end up working out, which is totally fine. And I was like, maybe for like my next book when I like
Maybe book 2, yeah.
yeah, when I like actually know what's kind of going on and like because this whole book really is. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just winging
You
everything.
live and learn with your first book, I feel like,
Yeah,
honestly, and I wish someone would write a guidebook for indie authors and be like, "This is it." But
seriously.
I feel like it changes so rapidly that there really couldn't be any sort of
Yeah,
guide like that because it really is, like, almost a day-to-day thing where you're going, "That's new."
it is. It is so true. It really is because it's constantly changing.
Yeah,
It is constantly. So
for sure. Well,
yeah.
what are you give people a last word about your book so they will remember it, they will think about it, and they will go buy it on Saturday.
Yes, yes. So I guess I'll show it again. I need to figure out how to get this like here, let me see if it's in settings so I can get let's see. I don't even know. I am so not tech savvy too. Um, oh, virtual background. Okay, let's see. Oh, none. Does that just go? Oh, there we go.
Perfect. There we
Perfect.
go.
Now you can actually see things. So yeah, so this is my book. I can get him so crimson. And I would say if you really like light against darkness, because that's pretty much what this whole series is about. It's light against dark. Um,
Mhm.
and it's like good against evil.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're really into like that, then definitely check this out. But if you love like a good slow burn, enemies to lovers, monsters that will most likely keep you up at night because they definitely kept me up. um, and magic and twists and turns that you're not going to expect, then yeah, definitely check this book out. So I'm just super
Amazing.
excited. So it's gonna be fun.
Well, thank you so much for coming to chat with me about it. I know you're busy and that your time is very precious. And thank you all very much in the chat for coming to hang out with us and to meet Emmory possibly for the first time. Tell people where they can find you on social media.
Yeah. So you can, I'm mostly on Instagram. So it's just author Emmory Jarman. Yeah, you can see my name right there. Hopefully you can see it, the
There we go.
name.
There we go. There's the
But
name,
yeah.
Emmory.
Oh, awesome. Perfect. So yeah, it's just author Emmory Jarman. You can find me on TikTok. I think it's just under Emmory Jarman. I'm not on there like hardly all. I need to be though. I need
For
to be
sure.
better. But yeah, and then you can find my book on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, anywhere where you find books, really. So
So
yeah,
exciting. It's coming up soon.
I
All right.
know.
I am going to end the stream. You don't close anything. I'm going to close
Okay.
it and then we will chat after this. But once again, everybody, thank you for coming to hang out with us. Thanks for spending part of your Monday night with us. And we'll see you for the next chat.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.